Mental Health Day is meant for mental health education, awareness, and advocacy against social stigma. We now have Dr. Cherrilyn Ward-Crawford of the St. Kitts Mental Health Association to engage us in a conversation about mental health and wellness in our federation. Good morning, Dr. Ward-Crawford. Welcome to Good Morning, SKN.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
And our pleasure having you indeed. So what is the mission of the St. Kitts and should I say St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, it's St. Kitts, really.
Okay. What is the mission of the St. Kitts Mental Health Association?
Well, our mission really is to bring awareness to mental health issues and to promote the idea of mental well-being and to push to have, more investment in mental health.
All right. So, Doctor, can you give us a sense of how you go about accomplishing your mission?
Well, when we receive opportunities like these to come on shows, we jump at these opportunities because we get to speak about real issues concerning mental health, because some persons, they tend to think that it's not important as physical health issues. So a lot of emphasis is placed on physical health issues. So when we get opportunities like these, this is one way we would try to go and promote mental health. Other things we do is we meet with, we work in the Ministry of Health, so we try and push for policies and things like that that would help and secure good mental health for our federation.
I read somewhere that mental health is important at every stage in life. So how is this imparted in every stage? Let's say we start from the baby stage.
Okay. Baby stage, we have what we call attachment. Okay. Secure attachment, disorganized attachment, and it's very important because sometimes when the baby is crying, persons say, don't take up the baby because the baby's going to become too clingy. So leave the baby crying and crying and crying there. And that's not the best thing because we want the baby to feel attached. Okay. And when the baby knows that when I cry, my mom is going to be there, even when the baby, you leave and you come back, you would have that bond with the baby still. But we find when persons, just leave the baby like that, they don't bond like that with the baby, it affects the attachment. And that attachment continues on throughout their life, okay? Even in... when the children are what we call in the childhood stage, that is very important too, because we know they're going on from preschool into primary school. It's a whole new level of adjustment because, preschool is playing, you have your sleep time and those kind of things. But primary school is a bit more structured, you have a lot more different persons possibly. So all that is important. And even as you go on to adolescence, we know the hormones, person say they are raging, and children really need some assistance in adjusting. And even onto adulthood, you're getting married, you're getting jobs, you're in various environments on your job. Some are healthy, some not so healthy. Even as you go on to older age, children are leaving their home. Okay. Empty nester, you're retiring, what do you do? Yes. And all that can have an impact on mental health. So mental health is very important.
All right, and listening to you, obviously from my understanding, which is very minimal, of the issue of mental health and the issues that we're going to be talking about, a couple of things came to my mind. One is we're talking about adolescence, the issue of peer pressure, the links possibly to suicide. At all stages of life. What can you tell us about any linkages there and things that we can look for instance, if we think that someone might be at risk?
At risk for suicide?
Yes.
Okay. Well, with suicide, we have persons who tend to be at risk for suicide. They tend to suffer with depression symptoms. Things like feeling sad and down, not motivated. So you would be looking for signs like, okay, the child used to go to karate class or netball or painting, whatever, and all of a sudden there's a decrease in interest in these kind of things that they used to love to do. They used to go to school without any difficulty, and then you have to be forcing them at mornings to get out of bed. So we're looking for things like that, decrease in interest that they things that they used to do before, but they no longer have any interest in that. We're looking to see when they're depressed, a lot of crying. We're looking to see problems with concentration, and that's going to show up in their schoolwork. The teacher is going to say too many mistakes, or easily distracted, not focusing. Things like that would show up on reports or in one-to-one feedback if the parent is so inclined. We're going to be looking at well, they're going to have the thoughts and the ideas of suicide because there's hopelessness. There's the sense that, okay, there's no hope for me. Why continue? And sometimes suicide, is looked at, okay, that's the easy way out because it ends all that I'm going to here. So you want to look for things like that. Very important to make sure you have conversation with your children because, at that adolescent stage, the parents take a back seat because their friends become more important to them because they're all going around through the same phase, okay? And somehow they feel like the parents don't understand when we have been there and been through that, okay? Yes. So they feel like they don't understand and they feel much closer to their friends. They can talk a lot more to their friends, and then some parents, they kind of step back, but we, as parents, we're not supposed to step back, we're supposed to continue to try and have that connection with the child. So those are some of the things you look for. In children, a lot of behavioral things are going to come out, more so than in the adults. So all of a sudden, the child stops behaving in class. Lots of complaints. The child is fighting, the child is answering back, a lot of behavioral things, and it really has to do with depression because the presentation can be much different to adults.
So would you say that the awareness of the importance of mental health has increased in St. Kitts?
Yes, I think so. Because over the years, the Mental Health Association, we have been really advocating for mental health. But we know in the schools, we have guidance counselors. That is a plus. Okay, we have, even in the primary schools now, we have guidance counselors. That never used to happen years and years and years ago. So we have both in the primary school, we have in the secondary schools, we even have at CFBC, okay, which is good. And apart from that, we have the National Counseling Center, who has been around for years, promoting mental well-being at the hospital. Since I came back from studying, since 2005, I have been placed there, and it's expanding. So, yeah, I think, the awareness is there, but there's always room to do more.
So, Doctor, I do want to ask you now if there is a most common mental health issue here in the Federation.
Yes, the most common mental health issues we are facing here is depression and anxiety. And especially coming out of a pandemic where we had persons, we have loss of lives of loved ones, and then we have loss of livelihoods, and loss is loss. So, okay, so the symptoms that people tend to experience is going to be similar to one that you experienced, that is with bereavement and grief and things like that. So it's the depressive symptoms and the anxiousness of what is going to happen to me in the future. These two things tend to be very common these days.
I was going to ask you, so thank you for hitting that nail on the head about anxiety, because depression is one of those things that we tend to hear a lot about, not so much the anxiety.
So how would you say we can start addressing this?
Okay. Well, we could address it from a personal level, and let's look at us as individuals. What can we do to take care of our mental well-being? It's very important. We just practice self-care. One of the basic things, practice self-care, okay? And yes, in terms of taking care of your physical health, that is very important, because if you have a physical problem, a medical problem, that is going to impact how you feel. If you were to be diagnosed with diabetes, hypertension, something like that, it's going to impact how you feel. So yes, making sure you eat properly, making sure you get adequate sleep, adequate exercise, all these things are important, because when we exercise, it releases endorphins in our brain. These are feel-good hormones. Indeed. So it helps us to feel good, okay? But apart from that, we can do simple things like setting boundaries, because too often we push ourselves and we know we don't want to, we know we don't have the time to, but we still take it on, and then we have to push to make time, and then we are stressed with it. Have some boundaries. Say no. It could be simple things like managing your media consumption. Yes, it's good that we keep up to date, but there's some content out there. It's so depressing. It's so anxiety producing that, you know, and if we are surrounded by it every half an hour, we are listening, you know, we can get triggered by that, you know, and people don't realize that after watching content like that. Sometimes it makes us anxious, sometimes it makes us feel real sad. Sometimes during it, we're even having a little tear, some of us, okay? So simple things like that is very important, staying connected with persons. That's very important, and we know during the pandemic, that was a thing we had to modify because we had to do that from a distance now. But calling somebody and talking with them, expressing how you feel, is important, and selection of the person is very important too, because you don't want to select somebody to talk with and then soon after it's on Facebook. So you want somebody you know that you know you have the confidence that when you talk with them, that will remain private, and you know these are persons who are going to give you a word of encouragement, just make you feel uplifted. We all know one or two persons who can do something like that. Very important. We sure don't want the person who's going to come up and give a one-up story. So you're left hanging there. Exactly. Okay. So selection of the person is very important. Sometimes people think that these things is waste of time. If we set a time to just relax and listen to some music or watch a movie, they think it's waste of time. No. But these things help us to feel relaxed, happy, and at peace. And that's what we want. We have to cater to our mental well-being. Basic things like these can help us and go a long way.
Well, that's really good advice, Doctor. All right, so there are some activities that the association has planned for this week. Why don't you tell us about them?
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking me that question. We started off our week of activities at the Pentecostal Church of God, the Basti Sanctuary, yesterday, and we want to thank Pastors Analdo Bailey and Pansina Bailey, and also Pastor Dr. Grace Guilford and Mavis Armstrong for really having us. We really felt welcomed, and so we had that activity. And throughout this week, we're going to have presentations on different media outlets, you know, social media, you know, the traditional ones, the radio, etc. We're going to have conversations there about mental health to just bring awareness. We also have on Thursday at 5 p.m., we have a yoga session because we want people to know that, you know, you can do things like these that's going to help you to feel relaxed and at peace and calm. And that is at the Lawn at Frigate Bay. So we invite everybody to come out to that. And on Friday, we have a little care package for the patients on the GNF Hospital Psychiatric Unit, where we can just let them know that, you know, we care for them and we want them to feel that they're not alone in this. Okay.
So most persons suffer in secret, as you mentioned before. Is it because they don't want to talk and their stuff gets out on social media or wherever else it goes to? How can you encourage those people to come forward and don't feel like it's a stigma? Because long ago we said you're crazy, but it's not crazy. It's more than that. What advice would you give to someone?
Yeah, that's a very good question too, because a lot of people, they don't come out because of the stigma, the discrimination that they feel, and they suffer in silence. And what that does is that sometimes the situation is in an acute stage, but because it is prolonged, then they end up into a chronic stage. So then that's when we might have to have more interventions, because at the acute stage, they might benefit from some talk therapy. But when it reaches the chronic stage, we are talking about maybe some psychotropic intervention, medication, and things like that. So I want persons to just trust trust us. You know, we at the GMSKN Hospital, we offer quality services. We don't have any issues with breach of confidentiality, anything like that. Likewise, at the counseling center, we have that aspect there too, and we have persons who offer private care for counseling, etc., and things like that. So feel free to access these services, because on the other hand, the consequence can be, can outweigh all that. So please contact Joseph and Francis General Hospital, 465-2551. Ask to be put on to the psychological unit, or you call straight to the National Counseling Center, 465-5000, and you're going to get somebody there who you can speak to.